Just checking my notes. Hey, I'm Captain Eddie Castellan. Welcome to my shop. We have a few little things to talk about, and I want to show you how to make some nifty little gifts for Christmas. And it's fairly easy, all right, so you don't do spindle work. Show you how to beat that. First, I'm going to take a hardwood dowel that is 1.25 inches by 36, and I got this at the woodworker's friend called Hobby Lobby. Why? Because it's straight, split, and then shaped dowels. They don't warp. I mean, it has no warp to it. It's been out for a long time. Been leaning against the saw here for about 3 months. I like it. They have them in different sizes now. I picked the 1.25 inch. I'm going to just take a piece off this nut. 8 or 9 inches long. I want you to see this though. This is an important trick. Not trick. Important way to do things. Alright, you're looking at the blade. If I took this round thing and just rolled it up into the blade would catch it, spin it, and I'd lose my fingerprints. I'll look like I'm in a wet sack program again. Instead of rolling to the blade, I'm rolling away from the blade. See that? Because if I rolled to the blade, it would catch and I'd probably get hurt. Losing the fingertips. Now I'm only telling you this because I read about it. It didn't happen to me. But, hey, I got a whole lot more. All you got to do, stick around and watch. Watch is where? It is a watch thing right there. Doing what you should do when you come out into the shop. All things considered, that's what you really should do. I got a spot of super glue on the edge of my blade right here. How would the super glue get there? All right. But that's causing a bump. And that bump's going to mean a spot where it's going to rub. And when it rubs, it's going to go up over, up over the top like that. So it's got to be cleaned off. Now I'm fixing to, and I love the term fixing to, I'm fixing to sand this out. And today when I got it nice and clean, I got all the glue off and everything, I'm going to go ahead and put a coat of epoxy paint on this. That'll help me keep it clean and help my finger slide on it, because we do slide cuts, where we actually move along the tool rest. That wasn't taught in high school. In fact, in high school it said you lock it in and you move it as little as possible, because moving is dangerous. It is dangerous. In fact, this whole thing can be dangerous. You can pinch fingers, lose eyes, hands, everything. So when I tell you things about cutting around stock, and instead of rolling into the blade, roll opposite the blade. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, go cut something round on your bandsaw, and you'll feel it pulling itself into it. It's the natural progression because of physics. Yeah, you didn't pay attention to 9th grade physics either. I didn't. But instead of rolling to the blade, roll away from the blade. Number one, you get a smoother cut. Number two, it's easy for you to keep it in line. And number three, it won't grab and spin. Now, the problem with grabbing and spinning isn't the fingerprint thing. That's a real nasty thing to have your fingerprints cooked off. But the other nasty thing is, if it grabs and binds, it'll break the blade. That's $29, maybe. But you got to change it. And you probably don't want to use it again. So, the tips I give you when we do this, this really isn't tied to this is a way you have to do it. A lot of times when I come up with stuff, it's from good old common sense. I've derived from the fact that I've done most of these things and they didn't work out and they were hazardous. And I'm thinking about, where did I go in the book of wood turning to get past this? Well, guess what, gang? There is no book of wood turning that gives you all the angles and the details and all this. It's not there. And whoever writes it is a fool, because it'll be out of date tomorrow. But when we do YouTubes, I'm not here to say look what I do, look what you can't do. I'm here to say, look what I do that you can do. And if you pay attention to what we're doing, you'll probably come away a whole lot better. But pick up on my tips and hints and use them. Now, I have broken my safety glasses. I put them in the jacket pocket for safekeeping. Then I sat on a jacket. This much ass sits on something that's going to break. So I have to use my shields today until I get a replacement set done from Sam's. And that's where I got the other pair made at Sam's, because they have an eyeglass place in there. At least I hope they do. I haven't been in one of Sam's in a year or two. To me, it's like Walmart. It's where they collect the crazy people. Well, I'm giving you these tips and hints. Like today, I'm making these little ornaments. This is an idea. If you're completely out of things to do for Christmas and I want to do something unique, you can do the kitless ink pen. I've got a couple of videos on that. That's simple. It doesn't take anything more than the drill chuck and a drill bit and a little bit of time, but it'll teach about spindle turning. It'll teach about drilling and bending bits and all that. There's a lot to be learned in it, and you need that exposure. So it's like a friend of mine said, spindle turning, that's for the idiots. He was one of the idiots. You know why? Because he couldn't figure out how to do spindle turning. Now, I've been out playing the last couple of weeks, but I've got a, okay, part of my brain went away, and sometimes things don't come back. And sometimes I can't function to be out here and do things. That's supposed to be getting better. I'm working with some brain people on it now. And trust me, they got the work cut out for them. But I hear from a lot of you. The thing I did about veterans, go thank a veteran, I heard from everybody. I mean, Clay over in Texas, you know what I'm talking about, yeah? He wished me a happy Veterans Day. Now, Clay's gotten into doing sawdust, you know, with the table saw, the skill saw, and all that stuff. So he's not a real true wood turner, but it's okay. I can take it from him. But I heard from a lot of folks, and I got to tell you, that was the nicest thing you can do is to thank me. But you need to thank other veterans because they all made a difference. They all made an obligation. They had a commitment, and they did what was necessary at a time that it was necessary, and a lot of times it wasn't welcome. One day I'll tell you the story about coming back after 19 months of Vietnam and having the most disheartening feeling in my life happen to me. And to actually have the military tell me, this is going to happen, this is how it's going to happen, and if you do anything about it, you're wrong. I'll tell you more about that later on. But I was talking about Christmas gifts. You can do the penless, the kitless ink pen thing. It's a nice trick, nice toy. I've got probably 30 or 40 of them done for a wife right now. You can do bottle stoppers with the bottle stoppers made by Ruth Niles. And I say Ruth Niles because hers is a top-of-the-line stainless made by a guy who I believe is probably the funnest metal machinist in the world. He could be a wood turner too. But he really works at what he does, and his work is exact. So you get bottom line on that. It's really good. But I get a lot of input from you guys. So I'm going to drop off the table here for a minute. When we're talking about putting things back between centers, and this is my one-way stronghold chuck with profile jaws. I like the profile because they're smooth all the way through. They got a good grip on the outside, and you can touch this grip up with a good bastard file if you want. If you knock it off, why would you knock it off? Because sometimes you don't pay attention to it close enough and it'll get knocked off. I put my one-way stronghold on with my profile jaws in it, and then I'm going to chuck up this piece of this hardwood dowel. I got this idea from Jimmy Creel, who did a demonstration on finials at SWAT. Oh, SWAT's got the dates back up. I think it's 23, 24, and 25. It's not the last weekend in August, but it's as close as you can get. And it's in Waco, Texas. And it's, in my opinion, the finest wood turning symposium in the entire world. They hands down beat everybody because of the way it's organized, the way it's put on, and it's just for wood turners. So SWAT, S-W-A-T, Turner, SWATURNERS.org. I hope I get it right. SWATURNERS.org. And then on our title page, you'll see the date. I don't know how far you can go on it yet. I asked management yesterday about going, and she's committed that there's another function that she would like to do the same weekend as that. But she organizes that event and can probably move it. Then we'll find out how much horsepower I really have around here. It's not a lot. Happy wife, happy life. All right, I'll put this in there and then snug it up, and then I'm going to spin a little bit. It's a little bit out of round, but I can make some minute adjustments with this before I get it too tight. I'm getting it tighter, closer and closer and closer. And then I'll finally get it to where it's very close. And then I'll snug it up. Now when I start turning this, it's going to be between centers. Why? Because I need the stability of it. It's 1.25 inch dowel. It's fairly straight grain, which is important. And that's why I bought the dowel instead of spinning something off the lumber rack. Because lumber that's sawn, alright, let me get this right. Lumber in the US that's sawn is sawn to get the most out of the raw stock. That's what they're there for. If they get 6 2x4s out of it, I don't care if the tree does this. I'm going to get 6 2x4s out of it. But if I need to get a good straight piece, ask a good furniture maker. He'll start with split wood rather than sawn wood. Why? Because it will split with the grain, and then you can work from that. Work from a straight edge, develop with the grain, and move away from it. And you'll end up with a straighter piece that's got less hook. Several reasons, but you got to go back to the guys that made antique furniture, or furniture which is now antique, 200-300 years ago. They had to use the available resources, and they didn't want to build a chair or a bench or a stool or a table, and then in 2 or 3 weeks, a month, 6 months, when the wood dries out, the legs do this and that. All right, so they went more to split lumber, and it was also a much more economical way to harvest the lumber because you split it right outside the shop on the horses, right there, on the mule, split, brought it back in, planed it down. See, you didn't get it run through the table saw or the plane saw or the band saw or any of those other stuff. It was all right here. So you worked to the easiest grain. That's why I go to straight lumber when I want to do spindle work. Go to straight lumber. You will be happier with it. Now, what I'd like to turn today, and the goal is to turn some ornaments. I've got 5 grandkids, piles and piles of nieces and nephews and all that. And it's time to do a little something for them. And every year for Christmas, we try to do a little something personal. I'm married to one of the world's greatest seamsters. So she's always doing quilts for them and smocks and quilts and all this other stuff. And then I'll try to trade ink pens or bottle stoppers or key rings. Key rings are a big time thing, and it's so simple to do. I'd like to do a video on to show you, but I've got to get things organized up here for me to get it in there. Okay, well, I want to try to do that. And I did say there is no book on wood turning, so you can't go look it up in the book. Say, okay, turn to page number 321. Oh yeah, I can do that. It don't happen. It just doesn't happen that way. All right. Now this piece of hardwood, I want to stay on track here. This piece of hardwood, or the dowel I have here, probably hardwood. Straight grain. This is also the good basis for a spindle. I mean, a finial. A finished piece on the top. Now it's white, clear. You can stain it, you can color it, you can paint it. But you need finial practice. So why would you practice with something that's going to go and fight you all day long? When you can practice with this, leave it chucked up. Turn 2-3 inches into a finial. And remember I tell you about finials. If you don't remember, I'll tell you now. Draw it out on graph paper. And my graph paper's book is around here someplace. Somebody put a joke on it. It said, I may not be crazy, but I'm in line to get some. I might not have crazy, but I'm in line to get some. I don't know what they meant by that. Maybe they knew about the eyeglass thing. But that gives you a good place to start when you're practicing with your finials because it's easy to work with. Now my goal today is to turn this tree thing with traditional tool. That's a skew, traditional tool. Then I'm going to reach down in and find me a smashed diamond carbide tool. And I got one. I've got one right there. Gotta dig in and find it. I'm going to take that carbide tool and cut the same thing. Let me explain to you something about these finials and these ornaments. If they don't come out perfect, you know it and I know it, but they don't know it. Really, they don't know it. And the key thing is, if it comes out rough it up a little bit. I got a good friend of mine turning them like crazy and putting them out there for sale, I think. Yeah, it's for sale. And he sands them a little bit, and I was talking to him the other day and I said, what if you took a paint stripper from, thought I had one here. I do have something similar. What if you took a paint scraper, paint eraser, that had little needles on it that spun around in your drill press, and you drill your drill press, and it removes the paint off of trim and all that stuff. I watched Ron Popeil's Magic Store, and they had it on there the other day. That will help you when you texture it. It'll put texture. You go with the grain, with the wood, and you put those in. It'll look like needles or tree branch fronds or whatever they call them. All right. Now this is a flap sander. This is from Sandoflex, from Merit Abrasive Products Incorporated. I run this at about 250 RPM, and it's got a pretty coarse grit, maybe 120. To me, that's pretty coarse. Pad on it, and I would chuck this up in my pistol drill and fan it with that to knock off the edges and distress it a little bit. But then if I went the other way, I went from a sanded surface to a roughed surface, and then I get textured at a rough surface, and I really, really like that. Then what do you do for coloring it? If I have time in this, I'll put in the dyes I use, and then I seal it with OB shine juice, and it's a splash of shine juice on it and polish it up. And if I have to have a shine, I'll top that with CA. And it can all happen. Relatively easy. So, stick around. We're going to get started. And guess what? I got the remote. Hey, before we start, I got two things. Number one, I've shown you before how you can take and put an adapter on your live center, your one-way live center, or your Black & Decker or Jet live center, or your Robust, because you got one too. Use a 3/4 10 thread, and you put this adapter on it that looks just like this. See mine hanging out right here. This is my 33 millimeter. What's it called? 33.125 or something like that. This fits into my chuck. This goes onto my head, my tailstock. I can put the chuck directly on it. One of you turners, this guy's in Hawaii, and you know I got a problem with names, really, since this stroke. He told me the other day, check out Penn State Industries. They now have a number 2 Morse taper with a 1x8 adapter molded onto that. So if you don't have a tail center and you have a mini lathe and you want to be able to do that for flipping around or holding it centers and all that, and you want to do it, you can't afford or want to afford all that stuff, you can go to Penn State Industries. I'll get it right. Penn State Industries. And look up at LTCA 18. That's LTCA 18. And it's a 1x8 return chuck. And it return thing. And you can put your chuck on this side and it'll spin. Very versatile tool if you're doing pieces that have to be turned around. Because when you turn around, you don't want to reorient it every time. So that's one of the main things. And the second part is the shields and the safety glasses. I occasionally get some private messages from guys that say it's way overkill. You don't need a shield. You don't need safety glasses. Regular eyeglasses will work. If regular eyeglasses would work, safety glasses wouldn't be around. If shields didn't help save your face, shields wouldn't be around. So I use my shield, and I use my safety glasses. Broke the glasses, waiting for the new pair, so I'm gonna wear these, and they have fracture resistant or whatever lenses in them. I had them made that way. All right, but the other part is I'm going to wear my shield when I'm doing it, because if I get hurt, it's going to take away my turning time. I don't want to do that. So please, shield up. Shield. This is what it means. Shield up. All right, put the shield down. Use it. It doesn't do a damn thing where it's sitting at right now. It's like wearing a dust mask up on top of your forehead and the eye goggles around your neck. They don't do a damn thing for you. So be safe, please. Now to get this started, I'm going to leave about 3/4 of an inch up here. Okay? And I'm putting it on my magic pencil, okay? Then I want to put the lines apart. Let's say I'm going to make this ornament about this long. Why don't I give the numbers? Because they're not that important. It's how it is pleasing to your eye. And then I want to put the rings on the ornament about that far apart. And I just picked up my caliper, and it will set. And I don't know what it's set for, but it's pleasing to my eye. So I'm going to put the rings on it. And I'm doing this without turning the lathe on. Why? Number one, it's a fragile pencil. Number two, it's called layout. You can do layout without the machine running. Then when you get to the point, you can say, okay, I need that, and I need one more, and that'll be the bottom of the tree down here. And then this will be the base right there, and this will be the trunk in that spot. So you've laid out the whole thing, and it's there where you can take a look at it and say, my mind's eye, that looks pretty darn good. Okay? That's what you want to happen. Also figure that you're only using up a small piece of wood of your stock. And if you screw it up really bad, you can always sand it out and start again. That's easy. Shield up. Put the level down. Go in and get my skew with my parting tool. Top of the tree, I'm only going about 1/4 inch or so. That's using my parting tool from D-Way Tools. Dave and the family up there. All right, now, I've knocked it out and put the rings in it. Let's start now with a little plowing using a parting tool. I'm sorry, a skew. I know these things. Point, just like this. It'll cut nicely using it like a scraper. Or you just roll it over. Oops, that's a mistake. This is on tape. So what just happened, I could fix it so you'd never know. I wouldn't be much of a teacher if I did that. And I do this thing to expand our experiences in the shop so we're all a little bitty bit better. I broke a major rule. I really did. My machine was running and I improperly adjusted the tool rest. And here's the deal. My tool rest can be made to lock down on this side or lock up on this side, and this became an easy place to go, and I went there. What I screwed up on is when it's like this and I do touch this, it will drop. When the tool rest, and you don't know what I'm talking about, do you? Because you can't see it. But when I make the lock up like this, I guess in rebuilding this rig, putting it back together, I put these 3 screws or 4 screws in the wrong point. And I could roll them around and had it lock when it was down here, which is smarter for me. But smart didn't operate. So I went to this. And just now, and I had the thing sitting, the tool rest sitting on that scribed mark right there that tells me that that is my optimum perfect tool rest height. I can see it without looking at the piece and all. I know that's my basic starting spot right there. So you might think a falling tool rest is no big deal. It happens. When it happened and I had the tool there in my hand, rule 1 was I shouldn't move that tool rest this way, that way, this way, any way at all with the wood running. Takes a second to stop and start again. Stop and start again. Don't be in a hurry. This is not a race. Next is I kept the tool in my hand, and when I was working on it, and the tool went like that. See that? And it made contact. When it made contact, it went around, and it busted me across my hand right here. Now, you can't see it now, but tomorrow, that was going to be a major bruise. In fact, it's showing up now. No big deal, right? But I could have dislocated something, could have broke something, could have bent something, could have flipped around and got me or my face if I'm wearing my shield. So let's go back to basic rules. Don't move the tool rest when the wood's running. Figure it out, put it in place. If it's not in place, stop, adjust it, keep going. That's what we're going to do now. I feel better about this. What I did just now was move the indexer for my lock for the riser, for the tool rest. And I moved it about 140 degrees or whatever it was. I just moved a couple of holes. That's the difference in this on a one-way and this on a Joe Bob special. You might get the Joe Bob special cheaper, but you don't get that little option. And the little option of what to allow you to do it, just you see what I'm talking about? This little ring right here. That's what my handle goes into. And it's a heavy steel handle, not plastic, no plastic inserts. And this is pushing against a bushing or brushing that's pushing against the piece. So I'm not scarring this up with the threads cutting into it. I've got something molded the right shape that pushes against it. There's a whole lot that goes into these things. Now we could take some money out. Say I got to bring the price down on this by 40 cents. We could change that to a straight bolt that goes right into it and pushes on your tool rest. Right into it. And that's okay until it starts gouging up the side of the tool rest, and then you get a weak spot. This, you're not gouging up the side of the tool rest. You're pushing on the flat thing molded or a curved item molded to push against it. Works out perfect. The guy that did this was a machinist. He wasn't a wood turner. He was a machinist. He knew how to make things a little bit better and a little bit different. So what I did just now is move it to 135 degrees or so. And I had to move it twice because I didn't get it right the first time. But now, put it in and hit it down. It's locked in. If I put some weight on this, which I'm going to do, I'm not going to break it free. And I'm probably not going to get hurt. This son of a gun hurts like hell right now. So I'm going to work through this, call it a day, go put an ice pack on it, and make sure. You know, sometimes you learn things in life, and sometimes it hurts when you learn things in life. Whew. Now we have all the parts moved around. Took 2 aspirin. Call me in the morning. And now I'm knocking all kinds of stuff on the floor. I'm going to go back to it with a skew and do the inputs, the cut-ins. And the beauty about doing this thing is I can do the negative with my parting tool, the negative being this, do this with my parting tool and go up and cut the underside of the branch a little bit, see on and skew to an angle. And then I come back and tape up the top one and shield up. Here's a caution for you. When you're doing this, if you weaken this end of it and you keep going, you'll be spinning on a 3/8 inch dowel when you get over here. So I'm going to shape this up and then work back and pick up the girt in my main trunk as we go. Shield up. I've got a couple of rings, but I'm cutting in pretty hard and we have to straighten this out. That's one method of doing it just all the way through. Another method, and I want to show you all the options because some of you guys just can't cut with a skew. It's okay, you'll get it. We're going ahead and crank it back up. Shields up. Rough and gouge. We put sort of a Christmas tree shape on it. That will help you out. I'm going to go back to the skew. Shield up. Point. Going like this. You've had one of those days where things just didn't go the way you wanted to. My little Christmas tree ornament here is probably about 2 inches shorter than it's supposed to be. It's a half an inch narrower than it's supposed to be. And it's just not what I really wanted. That's what I ended up with. I've got 3 rings. There was supposed to be a 4th one, but I cut on it wrong and I broke it off. And it was supposed to be a 5th one, and I cut on it and cut it off wrong. And my hand is killing me. So in the sake of safety, I'm going to call it a day and get out of here. I'm going to stain this up, put a little shine juice on it. That'll give it a light bit of luster. Boy, okay, this is for Mick, my grandson. Put a little hook on it and give it over to the mixer. But I'd really like to make more and have them come out better. You see, there's no real magic to it, but if you can see is, I learned a little something about fixing my tool rest the right way. I'm glad I was shielded up so that that thing didn't come back and kiss me, because I don't need to be kissed by that. I planned it out a little bit. I had good intentions, but because I broke a safety rule, they didn't come out just right. So when you go out to the shop today, do some turning, think about the safety rules all the way through. Yeah, I know it's a pain in the butt. At least you might think it is. Till it hurts. I mean, that thing took a wallop and it's really hurting. And whew, I'm glad I'm hoping it'll only be a different color tomorrow. Otherwise, management's going to take my butt down the street to see the doctors. And that's all I need to do. Be told, look what you did. So don't do that, and you won't get told that way. I'm Captain Eddie Castellan. Get out and shop when you can. I'm making shavings. Well, I'd like to come back and make shavings. Depends on how you get punished for this.